One thing you may not know is that my career has been in education. It's a great profession for a teacher or for a surfer, plenty of vacation, and that's the reason I'm here, because the level of discourse and the kinds of efforts that have been made to oppose the Lagoon Restoration Project have caught my attention. Given that Surfrider's first victory, which I was a part of along with Lance Carson and Tom Pratt, occurred at Malibu. And over the years, not only have I tried to use my skills as a teacher, I ran the 1990 GeoSurf seminar at Pepperdine, which focused on the Malibu Lagoon issues, and in fact was the beginning of an official effort to do something about it. I was also a part of the Surfrider chapter founding efforts here in Malibu in the early 90s, as well as the chapter events. So I'm here as part of my sense of responsibility in terms of what Malibu has meant to me over the years, what it's meant to my daughter over the years, and what it's going to mean to future generations. And that's been my effort all going back to 1983, 84. Today I am joined by what we were going to call ourselves the Get Her Done Brothers. We were going to come out in fedoras and shades. You know, I mean, Malibu, we might as well have some showbiz, right? But then I thought what might be a better way to go is we are the Malibu Brothers. And I would like to introduce everybody, including the Ladies Auxiliary, starting with Stephanie Glass, who is, Stephanie, there you are. Stephanie is the real Malibu411.com founder, and you'll find all the information about why we support this project on that website. Okay. Also, Cece Stein, she is our representative. She's helping us with the PR. She's Twittering and Facebooking even as we speak, but we really appreciate Cece's efforts because getting the word out about why this project should be supported is really important to us, because the opposition to this project has done any number of things that have really kind of surprised me. So we're really glad to have Cece on board. Okay, also in the Women's Auxiliary we have Sue May. She is going to be our documentarian. And also, as part of the Women's Auxiliary, we have my wife, Heidi Hening, who keeps me in line. Okay, we have Mark Abramson's wife, Margot, who's really tired of all of this, okay? But, you know, she said, okay, it's his job. Are you getting paid for this, Mark? She wants to know. Okay, we have Michi Higashi, and that's Ken's significant other, okay? And if I'm forgetting anybody, do I have everybody? Okay, let me introduce now Matt Horns. Matt Horns is our man when it comes to the actual chemical reality of the lagoon, even as we speak. He has been sampling throughout the lagoon channels. He's actually been in hip waders. He's taken samples off the bottom. We call him Dr. D.O. That's dissolved oxygen, if you don't know about that. And if you need to ask Matt questions, well, you first have to be able to spell eutrophication and know what it means. Okay, you got to do your homework. Both Matt and Mark Abramson, Santa Monica Bay Restoration Foundation Senior Watershed Manager. He's our man when it comes to the facts of the matter of the project. Not the nonsense, not the half-truths, not the quick jab soundbite cheap shots, but the real data. He actually argued for the project for the California Coastal Commission, where, incidentally, the project was supported unanimously by Coastal Commission staff. It was voted 11-0 by Coastal Commission members with one abstention. But more importantly, it was signed off by a man named Peter Douglas. Peter Douglas is no longer with us. Peter Douglas helped write the Coastal Commission Act. He was the executive director of the California Coastal Commission for 25 years. There is nobody in the history of California who has been more dedicated to the protection of the coast than Peter Douglas, and he thought this project was just great. So Mark's our guy when it comes to the project. Matt's our guy when it comes to the chemical reality of the lagoon. If you want to ask them any questions, well, we'll save that for after the meeting. Right now I want to introduce our two other experts, and they are indeed focusing on the two major issues that might be occurring to people. One is this project going to ruin the surf? And the other one is, what does this project mean in terms of the health issues at Malibu? So to address what's going to happen in the water, and once again, All of this can be found on the realmalibu411.com. Our position statements, interviews with us, interviews with Skip Emblem, for example. Oh, I forgot. Our main man, I forgot to mention Bob Kirby, Mr. Perseverance, who can't be here tonight. But once again, Bob's been a comrade in arms. Right now, I want to turn it over to Steve Woods, and he's going to talk specifically about the impacts on the surf. That'll be followed by Ken Seino, talk about health issues. Steve?
I'll never be able to follow an act so ad-lib like that. He's a teacher every day of his life, and I have to write and read something because I can't just get up here and wing it like you're able to do that. I gotta put glasses on. I just want to say, first, I see a lot of familiar faces out here, and I kind of wanted to make an apology for anybody that I've snaked over the years. Even if you were wearing a leash,
not gonna cut it.
I don't see anybody that's actually wearing a leash, so I'm not going to apologize for snaking you guys. I know that there's some people that oppose this project, and I just want to say that I fully support this one, and I don't fear the project's noble intentions or the scientific data. The Malibu Lagoon and its western channels have been deemed one of the most impaired in Southern California by the EPA. 95% of California's wetlands are gone. Developers have stolen millions of acres of precious wildlife. The least we can do is improve the health of the last few wetlands that still exist. The 1998 Zuma Creek Lagoon Restoration right up here is a good example of a sick lagoon that was filled in with Caltrans. It was bulldozed, recontoured, replanted. It's a well-functioning lagoon now. You should really go check it out because it's kind of a miracle. Early on, I heard the opposition to the project, which really puzzled me. So I began to question some of the claims, and after studying the project plan, I began to realize that many of the opposition's claims were fears built on false assumptions. Fears that thousands of birds and animals and fish would be massacred, crushed, and that the gobies and plovers would be threatened with extinction. False. Fears that 1.5 truck loads an hour leaving the project site would somehow ruin Malibu businesses and snarl PCH. False. Fears that the lagoon will be dug out 9 feet to the back of the western channels and be a holding tank for the city's planned sewage treatment plant or Tapia's discharges. False. Fears that the project will cost up to $12 to $25 million of taxpayer-approved bond holdings. False. It's going to come actually a couple million, maybe under budget. I hear that the opposition to the lagoon say the lagoon is healing. False. Dissolved oxygen levels in invertebrates continue to decline in the western channels.
Yeah, bro, but the surf now. That's
I'm
important.
getting to that. It's a good enough. I'm not just a dumb surfer. Fears that $1 million dewatering treatment plant facility endanger surfers when in fact the discharges will now be cleaner than what was now coming up out of the creek untreated. I could go on and on about the beneficial health improvements of the reintroduction of the steelhead, the trout, the eagles, but what I think is one of the most distorted fears, and the one that concerns us surfers, the fear that this project will destroy the shape of the wave. Any Lions fear that in 1983, the project changed the course of the creek and screwed up second and third point, that this project will continue to do the same. That's false. Has anyone seen the 1995 and the 2005 videos of the floods on ecomalibu.org? You'll see that it's in full flood. It's a berm. The flood is bank to bank. The entire berm is blown out, and the western channels is just like an idle spectator that's doesn't have any influence on the direction of the creek. This picture right here, I don't know if you've seen it, but this was taken in 1941. Look where the creek is. This is 3 years after the 1938 deadly flood that blew through the Los Angeles area. After 3 years, this whole berm was blown out in 1938. In 3 years, this is 1941, there's like 3 years worth of vegetation on here. The berm has not been breached out at the top of the point. The wave is coming out here. The berm is coming out here. The Rangers had to refortify around their house to prevent erosion from coming around. But the wave during the 40s was about as good as the wave has ever been. The takeoff spot for first point, according to some of the footage in Ben Marks' film, the takeoff spot was out at first point. At third point. You could ride all the way through without a section.